Let's see if we can make some more progress on the adding back the primitives addition and color. So right now, if we go to the something unmatched token parser templates page, DXR templates page index. Okay, here. Oh, that's pretty cool. It recognized a missing tag somewhere. NP. Here we go. Does that fix it? That fixes it. Yeah, I was just playing around with the introduction stuff. Still work in progress. So if we jump into a space right now, our menu is you go to tools, and then so you can go to primitives, but it doesn't. There's no way to add any primitives, and it kind of doesn't make sense as a selection here. So we can't add anything into this space. So if there were things there, you could delete. You click here and delete it, transform, and click over here and move it around. And so I think this needs to dive down a level. So we can't use this selection link. It's not one of the ones that can be present here. This might make sense if you stayed here as a tab and then had another submenu, but I think for now, let's make it just work with diving another level deeper into a menu. So on the tools, let's change this. So let's not make this a tool. Let's just make this another link. So we'll change this to be go to primitives, callback, and we'll say go to primitive callback, and then we'll call this primitives. We need to define that callback, and let's see. Copy that. Name this const. So we'll say go to, it won't be main, it'll be primitives. And oh, we have one here already. It's called primitives. So maybe it will know how to load this up. Let's test it out. So we're here, tools, we click on primitives, it goes here, and add a box, it's in our face, add a cone, it's in our face. We go back to, it'll go back to main, then I can go back to tools and I can play with the transform. And I can delete. Okay, so primitives kind of works, and just to be consistent, maybe we'll just have this be lowercase. And also on the primitives page, which is here, instead of going back to main, we can go back to tools, and this will be tools, and that should work. So our types for the edit mode can't support a primitives here, so let's take that out. No compile errors. Okay, so we got the primitives part down. That was quite easy. Let's see how it behaves now. So here, tools, primitives sphere and transform, shrink it down, or flatten it, and you know what, let's just delete it. Delete. Cool. If I go to primitives and grid, going back, delete, and here I have a problem here. What seems to be the problem here? What do the logs say? Oh, it might be too close to it. Logs about tools back. Logs seem to be broken. Can't get into the logs. Is there anything here? Converting circular structure to JSON. Is that when you hit logs? Yeah, log manager. JSON stringify anonymous. I'm not sure what the issue here, but if it's an error around JSON stringify, I think we can just search for where we're doing JSON stringify, which happens in the log manager here, and this might throw an error. So let's say const message equal JSON stringify the thing, and let's throw a try catch around this, or try. And return message if there's no error. Actually, let's let this be like this. Actually, let's just return this. And the catch part will echo the error. So we'll do, whoops. Row to string. Okay, so we'll just say error. And so not sure. Logs. Okay, let's try to delete something. So let's go to tools, delete. Well, I can't delete this because it's an undeletable, uneditable object. In fact, we're creating the grid totally wrong. So the way we create the grid should be this flat thing here. But the message we're sending is, let's see. So let's go to primitives. Primitives. We're sending. We're creating it locally. So we are doing find or create mesh. And I'm not actually sure it needs color, but okay. right. If key is color, any sort of component, it's wrapped in there, so you actually set a color component on there. I'm gonna wager this doesn't need a color component on it. It will just have a default. So what happens if you just take off the color? And so if we go to tools and primitives and cone, still makes a cone. Let's create a new space. So if we go back and let's delete some of these. New AAA, save it, enter. Okay. And create me a grid. Okay, created it with the right styling, but it didn't put it on the floor. Why is that? Because rotation wasn't set. Let me see how Finder create mesh handles it, because none of these are specified before. When we created a grid before, it was create a plane with a certain side, double side, yes, and then Finder create material, it would automatically be grid, and then it would say it was teleportable, and then we're the ones that are setting the position, rotation, and all that kind of stuff. So create plane. So that it doesn't have any orientation whatsoever. So what was the defaults? Oh, probably an entity. That's where it was set. So an entity here, there were some default components for regular, and for grid, we had specified this business. Okay, so we can just check if it's a grid and then set that as the default. I see it was a little bit off. Why? In order to prevent some clipping. But I don't even think we need that. So, okay, we can set that in the primitives setting. So this can be default components, or let components equals that. If prim is equal to the grid, then let's set those components equal to position is fine. We don't need to change the position. Rotation, however, we do need to change to be more like this.
2 paragraphs. They're done. Because what they're looking for is value, and you're using language that's not neutral. It is contradicting and interfering with their sense of identifying value. Okay. There's a second point, which a lot of academics really dislike. Some don't mind it at all, which we call the language of costs and benefits. And we differentiate that for a reason. What we mean is, not always, but very often, you need to use code language to your readers to show them that the instability imposes a cost on them. Not on you, on them.
So
Or conversely, that the instability, if it's solved, offers a benefit to them. The language is different. There's a language of cost and a language of benefit. There's a version of saying, dear readers, dear important readers, you were brilliant, you've advanced us enormously, we're so grateful, but there's this little inconsistency in your work. Now, they want to know, well, does that inconsistency cost us anything? Because guess what? You know what about my work? It's got tons of inconsistency in it. Much of it doesn't make any difference. Is the inconsistency you're pointing out costing us anything? Or you can say to them, hey, this inconsistency in your work, if you improve it, you get this benefit from it. Those are different coded languages. I urge you to pay attention to the actual journals that you're imagining publishing in and see whether or not there's a pattern of language of benefit and language of cost. There may not be a pattern. You may see both. But if there's a pattern, you know what my advice is going to be? Use it. Follow it.
No, where's my grid?
Rhetorics, the published articles will show you the language that works. Right there in front of you, if you just look at it. So, skip past page 9, page 10. This is just some explanations of some bad habits. Oh, yes, please.
Delete.
There's always a paragraph.
Delete. Okay, so there are 2 points. So
Oh, the literature review. Yeah. Okay, sure.
back and because it's kind of focused on the.
Okay, no, I'm happy to talk. Whoa. Talking about the lit review. Let's start by doing this. Let's specifically talk about literature review. I just did a terrible thing to whoever, poor people who are actually going to watch this on tape. All right, let's talk about that. First of all, writing a lit review as a PhD student is one of the hardest things there is to do. It's incredibly hard because you don't know who your readers are. Let's talk about a straight teacher reading a lit review. What is the function of a lit review for the teacher who is not reading it to change her view about the world, but is reading it to judge you? What's the function of a lit review for that reader? To show that you understood it. Right? That's perfectly clear. Is that its function in a professional text? Is that its function in a professional text? You think they're reading this to find out whether you know the stuff about anything? What's its function in a professional text? It has several. What's one? What's the function of a lit review in a professional text?
Well, I think partly it's way over here.
Ego massaging? That's a real function. I got no problem with that. People think, no, it's a real function. Ego massaging is a function. Credibility is a function. Forgive me for jumping. Credibility is a function.
Where you're moving forward.
Yeah, but I hate the language of moving forward, right?
Or what you're challenging.
There you go. You know how to, no, you see the difference? You see the difference?
Color menu.
Here's what professional good lit reviews, and I didn't include one in this handout, but you send me an email, I'll send you some. Really good professional lit reviews will use the lit review to enrich the problem.